I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be on your call this past month. FCA is an awesome organization. I love Rick Randezzo. I love everything that FCA stands for. This video is for you guys. So today we're going to talk about sports psychology. We're talking about can teams be effective with low emotional intelligence. So the question is, can your team be effective with low emotional intelligence? The short answer is no, it can't be. Teams that are highly effective, that are championship teams, have high emotional intelligence. I've taken a 56-page master's thesis and boiled it down into these PowerPoints, these 40 slides for you. So here we go. We're going to move pretty fast. What is sports psychology? So psychology in itself is the study of human behavior. Sports psychology is the study of human behavior within sports. And if you're looking to get a 10% or 15% increase in your athletes, focusing in on the mental side of things is an easy way to do that. So we're going to talk about the specifics of that moving forward. Effective teams versus ineffective teams. Ineffective teams have 8 inhibitors. 1, they lack identity. 2, poor communication. 3, difficulty making decisions. 4, have an inability to resolve conflicts. 5, lack preparation. 6, lack creativity. 7, have degrees of groupthink. And 8, have ineffective leadership. So when you see this slide up here, the numbers 3 through 8 have everything to do with emotional intelligence. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence today. 1 and 2 is really it doesn't have anything to do with emotional intelligence. It's kind of another category, but 3 through 8 do have everything with emotional intelligence. Big thing with emotional intelligence is that it is learned behavior. Okay, it's not something that you're born with, having high EI or low EI. It's learned. 6 steps to an effective team. Set the identity, cast the vision, understand the EI of the team, reduce negative emotions, build relationships, and evaluate the emotional equity transfer. Setting the identity of the team. Early in the season, it's important to understand the spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical capacity of your team. It's an evaluation that happens. So you got to look at your team and say, man, I have high talent on one end, but low emotion on the other. You got to know about that. You got to know the spiritual side. I'm not talking about the spiritual relationship with Jesus, but I'm talking about the spiritual relationship of the team and the identity of the team and the vision of the team. So when you're looking at that, there's an important aspect of understanding this is actually EI when you have social awareness around you. That's high EI. If you have social awareness around you. If you don't have any awareness around you, that's low EI. So understanding the identity of the team is extremely important before you set the vision. Number 2, cast the vision. This is where you understand the identity or understand the capacity of the team. Now we're going to set the vision. A vision comes out of Habakkuk 2:2, says, write the vision on a tablet and make it plain so a runner running by can see it and carry it with them. Your vision for the team needs to be short, portable, easy to understand, memorable, inspiring statement. Okay, I've come up with some sample statements here. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but you can use that as an example, as a reference point as you go back to the PowerPoint. So it's just some ideas here when you're setting the vision, understanding that if you have a smart team, oftentimes I've said smart people are on defense and fast guys are on offense. If you got a bunch of fast guys, maybe you're not going to be a smart team. Or maybe if your team's a little bit slower, but they're smarter, you need to know that so you can cast the vision. All right, so we have a fast team, strong team, or a fast passing team. Okay, so understanding what that is in those elements, usually 1 or 2 words that are casting the vision, and then you want to make it big so that, and big and then short so they can carry it with them. Now, big and short, meaning a big vision of we're going to win the championship, or we're going to have this record for the team, whatever that may be. Set the vision big so your team can rally around that vision. All right. Number 3, evaluate the EI of the team. So emotional intelligence, I was alluding to it earlier, has to do with low EI and high EI. There are 4 categories of EI. There's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship skills. Understanding those 4 categories as it pertains to yourself, but also pertains to your team, okay? So when we're talking about self-awareness, we're talking about, is there self-control with yourself and the team? Self-management, is your team adaptable? Is your team optimistic? Are the individuals optimistic? Okay? Social awareness, does your team have empathy? So empathy is about understanding the emotions of others. If your team or the individuals on your team don't care about the emotions of others and just doing everything for self, then that would be low EI in the empathy category. Or if your team cares a lot about the players and they understand their emotions, then you have high EI. I will say that women's hockey usually have high EI when it comes to empathy. Everything in a women's teams has to do with the team. You know, they want to be around the team. They want to be around each other and perform for each other more so than men. Men are really about individual stats and self-achievement. And so women are a lot different in that category in terms of empathy. You know when somebody's empathetic and when they're not. Usually you can tell. And then relationship skills has to do with inspirational leadership, teamwork, and collaboration. So if you set the vision and people aren't on board, or if there's teammates that are on board with you versus not on board with you, then you can look at the relationship skills as it pertains to the 4 quadrants of the EI. All right? Reduce negative emotions. These are the killers. The negative emotions are the killers to a team. I'm talking about doubt, fear, anxiety, stress, poor self-image, lack of confidence. With elite players, confidence is everything. And so we have to really help them build confidence. You know, it doesn't really come down to the skills and drills. It becomes down to your relationship with them and how you feel about them. Now, how you feel about them and their perception of how you feel about them are 2 totally different worlds, okay? So if any one of these negative emotions that you want to zone in on, I would say that building confidence with your players is number 1. The number 2 negative emotion is sarcasm. The spiritual root of sarcasm is rejection. Rejection, we're talking about love. They've either been, if somebody's super sarcastic, then they have some type of rejection with their mom or their dad that they're dealing with. That's why they're sarcastic. Okay? Here are the negative emotions. Understanding these takes a bit of skill, but you know, as you know that these are negatives and they're inhibitors, you know, you can focus in on those moving forward. I'm not going to get into all this, but the negative emotions kill effective teams. Refer back to this slide. This is a very, very powerful slide talking about the spiritual root of fear, frustration, anger, sadness, and sarcasm. Effective versus ineffective behavior. We're talking about being authentic or sarcastic. You can see in this slide the ineffective behavior and the effective behavior. So if somebody's way on the achieving stride versus striving, you can see that the kind of the light and dark side, if you will, on those. Or somebody who's easily offended, well, we need to get into encouraging. It's another very powerful slide. Okay, positive emotions include enthusiasm, optimism, satisfaction, comfort, team resilience, and confidence. This is what you're looking for. These are also positive emotions as they relate to EI. So somebody is very enthusiastic, that's a high EI situation. Okay, in the hockey world, I've identified these as some issues when you're dealing with ineffective behaviors that kill team effectiveness. I'm sure you've seen more. Here's the ones that I've seen that you need to somehow clue into and have some high EI as it pertains to social awareness. But I'll tell you that kangaroo court kills team effectiveness. Poor communication on line changes kills team effectiveness. Setting lines before the game, understanding different scenarios, and getting everybody engaged in those scenarios is a great idea. I think John Cooper from Tampa Bay Lightning does an awesome job of communicating this with his players on different scenarios that could run during the game. So being upfront about that is important. Ignoring sex talks in the locker room. Sex, pornography, on the bus, in the locker room, talking, all this it just kills team effectiveness. It just does. At the end of the day, it's ineffective behavior, and you ignoring that you acting like it's not going on, like ignoring it. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but a lot of times coaches do because they just don't want to get involved. It kills team effectiveness. It just does. Okay? So manage not engaging your integrity, intuition, and brushing these sex talk off as not your business is low EI. All right? Demoralizing women in any manner is low EI. You know, I know in a lot of the locker rooms across the nation, you know, it's kind of cool for the guys to talk about women in a demoralizing manner, but I will say that is low EI, and it kills team effectiveness. Being a Pygmalion coach, you know, this is another one that kills team effectiveness. When you have an idea or perception about a player in the beginning of the season, and you carry that idea or perception about the player throughout the season, that is not a good place to be. That player is developing, working hard all season, and so what happens is, you know, being a Pygmalion coach is you put them in that box, and they never get out of that box. And what happens is we coach them, or we give them nods, or we give them nonverbals that suggest that they're in that position, and then you coach them. Same thing with, you know, the last person on your roster, and the same thing with the first person on the roster. This is really true with athletes that are on scholarship and athletes that are not on scholarship. You know, do you treat them different? So you don't want to be a Pygmalion coach. It's a bad idea. Again, refer to this slide moving forward. Top 10 things of what makes you mentally weak here. It's a really good slide. Dwelling on the past, avoiding change, trying to please people, being impatient, being misunderstood, giving into your fears. Again, this is what mentally weak athletes do, and they're also low EI. Versus mentally strong athletes have great people skills, great self-talk techniques. They have an emotional bandwidth. In other words, they're high EI on their emotions. They understand their emotions and the emotions of others. We talked about that earlier. That's empathy. So, you know, so they have an emotional bandwidth, whereas, you know, guys that have no emotional bandwidth are low EI, and they only care about their own emotions. So, number 6, effective teams. When you're building out the sixth item on the building effective teams is that emotional equity transfer. So we set the vision. We understood the capacity of our team. We set the vision. Right now, we manage all that in the middle, and now we have to come back and say, have the high EI awareness to say, is my vision that I casted catching hold with the team? When that happens, you'll see the boys talking about the vision of the team. They will be fully engaged into the vision. And if they don't, then you have to go back and ask yourself why they don't believe in the vision. Is it a trust issue? Is it a behavior issue? Is it an emotional issue that's outside of hockey? Why are they not engaging into the vision? Full engagement does not draw on just the skills of the player. Full engagement draws on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual capacity of your players. When you're talking about peak high velocity and the dynamics of energy, we're talking about players that are invigorated, confident, challenged, joyful, and connected. If they're depressed, exhausted, burnout, helpless, defeated, we got some issues that we have to address. That's where I can come in and help out with some of those issues. Same thing with angry, fearful, anxious, defensive, and resentful. You know, if they're in those kind of categories, then there's a conversation needs to be had, and you know, got to dig a little deeper to find out what the root issue is. A lot of times, in my experience, it's really not about hockey. It's usually about the relationship with the coach or something that's going on at home that we got to address. 6 steps to effective teams. Number 1, set the identity of the team. Number 2, cast a vision of the team. 3, understand the EI of the team. Reduce negative emotions. Negative emotions are inhibitors and kill team effectiveness. Number 5, work on building relationships. Okay? And number 6, evaluate the emotional equity transfer. When I set the identity of the team and cast the vision, this step 6 is all about understanding, does the vision and the identity of the team, is it carrying? Is it outside of me, and is it actually working? You know, have that high EI moment where you can evaluate the team. I kind of call it a checkup from the neck up, where you say, you know what, I need to be real here. Is this happening? Did the transfer of this vision happen? Yes or no? The question that I get coming back on this is, how long do I wait? That's a really good question before you say it's not working, or do you say it is working? Some action items. Understanding full engagement is not about skills and drills. It's about mental, emotional, spiritual capacity of the team. Negative thoughts have a physiological destination. Didn't talk a whole lot about that, but that is in the slide. So negative thoughts have a physiological destination. As we get older, what happens is those negative thoughts, they wear on us, and they look like back pain, neck pain. Sometimes they show up as cancer. You know, when that negative thought grabs a hold of you, and I'll tell you the biggest one, which is a comorbid, is stress. Stress is a major contributor to a lot of issues. And so those negative thoughts will have a physiological destination somewhere in the body, so you got to be careful of, you know, the long-term effects of that. And, you know, I would say action items moving forward is work on your own self-awareness as it relates to EI. Are you a slave to your emotions, or are you a master to your emotions? If you're a master to your emotions, that's high EI. If you're a slave to your emotions, that's low EI. Do your emotions control you or not? All right, so, and then set identity and cast vision frequently. So I've enjoyed this. Sorry it was so fast. I was trying to keep it condensed. I have no idea what the time is on this, but I've enjoyed this, doing this webinar for you, and I enjoyed the call. Thank you, Rick Randezzo, FCA. Love you guys.